Hi. How you all doing? Just logging in to chat to talk about if anybody is in America or angry. If anyone around the world even is looking at what's going on. Wanted to talk about it. So this is kind of how I understand it. And then I wrote some objectives. So here's my little thing of everything that's involved. So my first bubble, you've got a BLM, Antifa, communists, undercover ops, corporate interest, data mining technology, apps. I would call them opportunists who will exploit the situation. You've got the anti-Trump Democrats. You've got COVID peeps who are bored and broke. You've got the CIA infiltrating however they can. And then you have Trump. And then you've got the KKK, who actually are racist. And then you've got people who have been... Then you've got the 1%. And the 1% peeps will say anything and back whichever the winning team is. I don't know how to flip the screen. How do I flip the screen? I would just explain it to you. So then you've got the other bunch of people who've been fighting record yourself in the mirror. Then you have the other bunch of people who've been, for the last few months, don't get hung up on which side my phone is doing, because it doesn't matter right now. Just talk. The board's not that important. I'm just telling you. I can read it out. So I tell you. So these are all the people. So this is America. And America's made up of all of these fractions that are going on right now simultaneously. Everybody's interest is going on. And there are another group of people who have been fighting what's been going on with COVID and what they think to be pandemic and the whole Bill Gates vaccine, it's religious also, because it's about the chipping and the mark of the beast and all of this sort of stuff. So there's another group that have been doing that the last few months, and they've been censored off the computer, the social media, and they have been branded as conspiracy theorists. So you've got that team, and that team right now is doing their thing, that are not involved right now, or we don't know what that team is made up of. So right now it's really confusing, because everyone's jumping in to exploit everything for whatever they want out of this. So, you've got the the situation started with Biden saying some crazy shit. And now we're here within 7 days. But it's going to get hijacked. Mission Chaos is going to get hijacked for whatever interest at this point, because everybody and everything is vulnerable and up in the air. But I think it's really important to stay fixed on what the objectives are and focus on that. So, as an outsider, here's what I think is important to focus on. So you've got what is the objectives of this revolution. If everybody jumps in as fighting at one time, billionaires are funding the riots, someone said. Yeah, if it's Soros, if it's real. But don't forget that there are real suffering that black people have gone through these protests for hundreds of years. So we know that protests don't end up in real valuable results because they've been doing this. So even though the protesting is about George Floyd, the protests and the protesting of black people have been going on since, I don't know, the 1600s. So it's not yielded any fucking result from the Democrats or the Republicans. So obviously it makes it vulnerable for anyone to go in there and manipulate it and hijack it, which is what I think could be happening. So the tech companies can hijack this to get the tracking and get the tracking done and basically make people feel like they need to be contact traced. So the conversation from being contact traced for COVID is now going to jump to contact tracing for this revolution. And if we are not careful, this could happen very quickly in a state of crisis. So then it affects everyone. It affects the world. It will be implemented all over the world, because the way tech works is that it's global and it's not a simple, it's not just restricted to America. So a tech incentive is like that. It's like a fire that spreads very quickly globally. But America holds the key to the revolution of any type, because if you're fighting the Antichrist, he's in America. If you're going to fight the crazy, elite global banking family system, it's in America. If you're fighting racism, it's in America. If you're fighting just the new form of fucked up colonization or whatever, it's in America. So if you're stopping Bill Gates, it's in America. So whatever you have to do, the revolution or the key is in the American hands. When you start, we follow. That is just the way it goes. This is not going to start in Britain. No one is fucking standing up to, we have the word cozy in our dictionary. You guys don't have cozy. We have cozy. We're not going to stand up to shit. And also, we're not the center of it. India's not the center of it. China's not the center of it. America's the center of it. So if it stems in America and the root is in America, that's where the tree has to be cut. And so it's very important that the chaos that's going on now has to be funneled. The anger needs to be funneled for understanding what it is that you're trying to dismantle. So, number one is there's 40 million black people in America. That's nearly the size of a fucking country. In England, we've got 60 million. So, that's it. End of story. Freedom for black people starts now. They need to demilitarize the police, right? So the confusion, I think, and this bit is important, because demilitarizing the police and state militarization and martial law and all of these things, these could affect the rest of the world. So the concept of protest itself and how protest is understood and changes protesters can yield is the key is this one. So this moment actually in the entire world, if militarization of the state and the police, if this gets implemented now, it's just going to happen. And this new, whatever the shit is that's coming in, and whatever the aftermath of COVID, they will use this to normalize that, you know. So that's one thing. And I think the other thing is, if you're really talking about why a lot of people who died in America of COVID were African Americans, is because of the racism that has affected the wealth distribution, the health distribution, and all of these things. So then if you want change, it's not just about putting that cop in jail. It's about dismantling that entire shit, you know, the entire system. So you're talking about prison complexes, how it's set up as a business. You're talking about the banking system. You're talking about bullshit politics. You're talking about media agencies. It's all of it. So it's a huge fight, which means everyone has to join in. And, you know, now it's kind of the time, because of the fact that the small businesses and the middle class section of society there and all over the world has just been broken because of the COVID thing. So now the wealth, you know, the difference between the rich and the poor has never been wider. So then decentralization of banks. Yes, and this is a really old fucking problem. This has been around for hundreds of years, but it does go hand in hand with why black people are kept really fucking poor and, you know, and in systems. But what's gonna happen, or what is happening, is the fate of what happened to black people in America and is happening to black people in America is going to be the fate of everyone, including the middle classes and anyone around the world. If you are already human livestock, and, you know, if you're already just a data collecting bunch of like stuff, then that's all we are. We're just a bunch of stuff that is gonna keep these, you know, apps functioning and whatever this sort of data mining oil thing is. And I think, yeah, the healthcare's about money. industrial complex, military complex. Yeah, I mean, you're talking about saving the fucking planet, right? So if it's so true that all of us are gonna run out of resources in 20 years or whatever, we have to dismantle it. I'm not even shocking. Like, you can't even shadow ban me anymore because it's just facts. Like, there's just no point shadow banning me because we're all going to die in 20 years out, running out of shit. So if the water's polluted, the air is polluted, and it's about, this is about people like Vandana Shiva in India who are campaigning and fighting and spending all their life working on trying to fight for patent of seeds which Americans own, and we taught the world that the point is that, like, Monsanto started in America, and now it's owned by a German company, but the idea and that need to set it up like that comes from America. The seed of that thought comes from America. And now you've got people, more farmers, like 350,000 farmers or 400,000 farmers died and committed suicide the last, per year in India because they cannot function, and the seed of the thought for destruction and to take something that's natural from the world, rebrand it, patent it, sell it to people for money, and the greed seed. These are the things that we need to check. This has to be done one by one. Like, yeah, people need to be held accountable because we have to be real about it. It's like, if you want to distribute the wealth, you want to check tech companies' power. Like, tech needs to pay tax. We need to do that. There's no point saying we're going to get this, protest to yield results for putting this cop in jail when the entire structure then still exists, because it will keep manifesting the same thing. But and let's not act like, during this COVID, everyone's been at home. We've run out of content on Netflix, so people have been looking at other shit. People are watching YouTube. People know about censorship. We know about the new technologies coming in. We know about who owns them. We know about how these shares are working. We know who got rich during these times. Like, we know it. And also, I think, all these pharma and big tech companies, are not focused on the health and not just social aspects, but psychological and biological aspects of, the human evolution. And on the one hand, we're being sold, oh, this is a global event, like 2020, Agenda 2020 or whatever. It's all about one world and one government and one da-da-da-da-da. And then what's happening is completely the opposite, which is really about trading on people's identity politics and emotional, people's, like, it's trading on people's anger and emotions to do with identity politics. So that's what I'm saying. There's just like so many groups and so many debris of so many ideas. And so at this point, everyone has to get together and figure out what the fuck they're dismantling, and know that whatever you dismantle in America affects everyone, and everyone's there watching. And yeah, it can't be divide and conquer. And that Epstein list, or the anonymous list, I feel like that's been out for a while. I always said that after this revolution, this moment, it has to be a spiritual one, because all of these groups that are going in right now, you know, you've got the election peeps going, oh, this is terrible, like this is all Trump's fault. It's like, no, this has been happening for hundreds of fucking years. Like, it's not just Trump. And then you've got other people going, oh, you know, this is da-da-da-da-da, this is the... It was when this happened in 2016 or 2015, they were like, oh, the Russians infiltrated, it's Facebook, or it's this, it's that. It's like everything's wrong with it, you know. And before black people, it was the indigenous Native Americans. So through this chaos, there's going to be an order. What is that fucking order? And that's what the fight is. So that fight is the real fight. And that fight everyone's involved in. You know, it is a spiritual revolution. Oh, Ari. And that is a spiritual revolution, because if this ends in us accepting, you know, or if this comes down to, oh, actually, the police don't have power, we need to do something better, we need to restructure the city, you know, let's do contact tracing because the white people are not happy with the black people protesting, or, you know, let's keep people safe, because that's the narrative coming in now. People want to be safe. Of course, everybody wants to be safe. Everybody wants to be safe. Everybody wants to be happy. Everybody wants to be okay, you know? And that is why people fight. Like, revolutions happen, like, black people want to live in peace, and the Tamils wanted to live in peace, etc., etc. Like, when the Tamil people fought in Sri Lanka, we fought so we could just own the land we live on and farm on it. We didn't want to build huge cities and turn into Singapore and start blowing shit up and blah, blah, blah. You know, we wanted to be left alone. We wanted to be left alone to eat off banana leaves, create very few waste. You know, we had our own court system. We'd already had our police system. We had our own way of governing shit. We had less crime. People didn't commit, like, adultery and crime and stuff like that when we had the Tamil Tigers that were governing this Tamil area. And so that's what people want. Ultimately, everybody wants just a nice life. So it's completely possible and achievable. First of all, there's lots of space in America. Second of all, you guys have good weather. Okay, you got land. You can grow vegetables and eat, and you can have businesses. You've got enough people there to buy stuff if you need a bit of money to survive. There's ways to create energy. There's ways to da-da-da-da. All of these things exist, but it's about the way it's been set up over the hundreds of years. And it's kind of now or never, you know, to... Yeah, the problem's not black against white, but the government, the leaders. Well, yeah, that's the point, because we are already losing when it comes to technology, because they know how to manipulate you. Like, we have all the technology that can create anything fake to trigger anybody, but we've also been reduced IQ wise to be triggered very quickly. So it doesn't take a lot. And I think that it's only going to get worse. If we accept it, we're going to be triggered with even little content and even more little information. And, you know, if you give that space, you know, it's freedom of, it's not just the freedom of the right to be free in America. It's almost like we want everything. We want our minds. We don't want to like destroy our children. We don't want to live in a place where we're fed bad food, so we can't evolve, and we have to eat not bad food, but also have chemicals in the air we breathe, or just shit. Like, we don't want to be guinea pigs, and it needs to be like the earth is ours. Yeah, let's not make Idiocracy movie real. That's exactly what I mean. And I think everyone needs to join the conversation, because obviously people from the outside are like, well, yeah, you know, America's foreign policy has been so shit that, like, we're, you know, everyone's like, yeah, well, that's what's happening. You know, it's like, if the concept of break the master's house down with the master's own tools was real, then it's Facebook, or it's social media, or it is the uprising of black people. You know, they are the tools of America, who built America. So then that's what it is. And we all have to watch that happen. But at the same time, they're fighting a bigger fight, is what I'm saying. It's like, and everyone needs to help, because the fight is bigger, because all the new stuff that's going to get implemented. And I said it then and I say it now, which is, it is a spiritual fight. Because the next thing that comes is the spiritual bit. And it's also the freedom of thought, your mind, and, you know, and you can see all of these things, like the fact that you're not allowed to debate 5G is kind of an interesting thing already, because how can you not debate technology? You know, you can talk about space rockets going into space, but you can't talk about a satellite dish that's put on top of your house. You know what I mean? So fast forward 10 years, 20 years, it fits. If corporations have that much power to influence government, it ain't going anywhere good. And that has to be rewired 100%. So to me, that's what I worry about, because it affects all of us. Governments I don't know what they even fucking represent. So don't let this get turned into, this is Democrats versus Republicans, and if we just vote Dems, there's going to be no more racism. It's not. It's like that's just not what this is about. And that's all I wanted to say. Don't want to drag on too much. Yeah, rewiring. The whole thing needs rewiring. And then, we need to rewire even the entertainment industry. So I could come back and put some records out. That's what we need. And just let things be good. Everyone's Neo. All right. You're the one. Y'all are Neo. It's time. So it's worth remembering. Everyone needs to fight together. And it affects the entire planet. Okay? And there is room for America to become an inspiring country within this entire fucking thing that's going on. So give space to that. All right. Peace out.